How do you guys feel? You feel okay?
Well, we just had a bit of an argument. I'm feeling a little,
How do you feel doing this social experiment?
sorry.
How do you feel doing this social experiment?
I'm excited.
A
Yeah?
little nervous.
Yeah,
A little bit. Yeah.
of course. All right. Well, before we begin, my consent form is verbal. So this will be an episode of my podcast. The intention, obviously, is for me to do my best to help you guys, but also collectively us helping other people because, all of this is relatable, right? And so, thank you for participating in that, and then it'll also be a video on my YouTube if you guys are okay with that.
I'm cool with that.
I'm
Okay,
okay. Yeah.
cool. Where are you guys from? And then you guys start wherever you want to start. You guys could start with some broad strokes of your relationship, or you could just jump right into what the current struggle is.
You want to just give us a bit? I'm thinking we could give a little brief, like,
Yeah, let's do it.
bio of ourselves. I'm thinking
Yeah.
ladies first.
Well, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Mhm.
I'm 27. Living with Sean and my 2-year-old son.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a hairstylist. I work with curly texture hair.
Oh, nice.
Learning to color.
Mhm.
Excited for that, but I specialize mostly in cutting and styling the texture. I'm that's my main focus, other than being a mom.
Mhm.
And
And
yeah,
then how long have you guys been together?
together for about
A year and a half,
year.
Okay.
No, yeah.
almost exactly. It's pretty easy to remember. Our anniversary is July 31st, so
Yeah.
a date I'll never forget. And so, as for me, my name is Sean. I'm 32 years old. I would describe myself as a bit of a free spirit. I'm
Mhm.
still finding my way in life, and I have many passions, many interests. But my main focus right now is, of course, doing my best to step up and be a good role
Mhm.
model for
Mhm.
Zay, be a good partner to Leah. And I also, in the last almost the entirety of our relationship, because I started just after we met. I'm on my arm wrestling journey, so I'm very fortunate to live in Ottawa. I'm a member of the Ottawa High Hookers, so I get to
Mhm.
train with Devin Larrett and all the other guys. Amazing group of people. I love the sport. I played basketball my whole life, and I would say at one point basketball saved my life. It got me out
Mhm.
of a really, really dark place. But arm wrestling has stolen my heart,
Wow.
and I'm seeing where that's going to go. And my goal is to get to the top.
I've never met an arm wrestler, like a legit someone who pursues it as a sport. That's amazing. It reminds me of an old '80s movie called Over the Top with, I
That's
believe, Sylvester Stallone.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Like
and he's in his
that
diesel
movie
doing
got so many
this.
people into it.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And so if you guys have been together for a year and a half, when did you guys move in?
Ooh, recently.
Mm-hmm.
So for January, we moved in.
Mm-hmm.
So his old roommate moved out in
Got it.
January, and
Mm-hmm.
um, Sean has kindly offered to babysit my son, because right
Mm.
now I'm starting off my career, and it's kind of difficult because finding a daycare situation when
Yeah,
I
of course.
started was really
Mm-hmm.
tricky. My mom was fortunate to babysit him, but in December she had to leave to go back to Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
Her body literally like freezes up, like, and she's in pain. Um, so she had to leave, and I was like left to figure out what I'm gonna do. Sean stepped up and he offered to babysit him until I get him into daycare, which I'm super grateful for. So we moved in January. It just worked out that way. He's currently working part-time and focusing on arm wrestling, but also looking for something more full-time for
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's doing that, he's able to have that time to watch Say, which is, it's just freaking awesome. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
But it's been a tricky month, or not even. It's not even a full month yet.
It's just been 2 weeks.
It's been a tricky 2.5 days. So
Yeah.
living together, obviously, it's a very big deal, and a year and a half is really. I know it depends on the intensity of the relationship and how much you guys see each other, but a year and a half is still very fresh. It's very new. So it seems like in that year and a half, there's been a lot of things happening fast, a lot of adjustments. So let's talk about the quote unquote problems, or what's the contention or conflict that what are the struggles right now?
So for me, there's been a couple of them. So I love the opportunity to watch Zay and to bond with him and to have those moments. I often struggle with how his emotional reactions trigger my emotional reactions from unresolved childhood issues.
Sure.
And I find myself very resistant to kind of deal directly with them. A lot of times when I encounter really intense emotions, I will avoid it. I often use like reading as an escape, imagining myself as either myself in the story or as one, or identifying through one of the other characters. And because I did that so much in my childhood, I've actually struggled to create a true, real, authentic identity for myself. Even though I'm realizing as I say that I didn't really have to create one, I just have to be myself and be authentic to myself. I've also been very, very stressed when it comes to my own finances, and that is a direct result of my bad habits. This is a year where I've decided to not put any money towards any recreational things apart from maybe a drink every now and then. Up until this point, on and off, I've smoked marijuana pretty much every day, multiple times a day, since I moved out of my parents' house. And I would say that's the biggest reason for me not being where I want to be or where I saw myself being at this point in my life. That's probably the biggest source of my unhappiness. And my problem is I don't know how to take full accountability and full responsibility onto myself. I try my best, but I do recognize that a lot of times my stress and how I react to other things in my life, especially in my relationship with Leah, is a result of my inability to fully accept myself as I am, the things that I've done. I don't have a good relationship with my close family. The roommate that actually just moved out was my brother, or is my brother.
Right.
That did not end well.
It didn't end well. That's why. Okay. Wait, real quick. Let me, before you get too far, give me an example of how. Is it Zaya?
Zay, we call him Zay.
Zay. So,
yes.
How he activates you and your upbringing / childhood wounds. When do you get activated with him?
Pretty much every time he cries.
Oh, and what happens?
I definitely.
When he cries, what happens to you inside?
I feel very, very frustrated. I want to make it stop.
Right.
I want to tell him not to cry. I don't think it was necessarily my family, but definitely like the school life that I went through. Like boys don't cry, or men don't cry. You got to suck it up. You got to tough it out. Sort of that disconnection from your feelings in order to put on a mask of masculinity. A masculinity. Anyways, and I'm starting to.
So what do you do
better.
when he cries and you have this anxiety and you want to stop him from crying, or it makes you really uncomfortable? What do you do, and then also what's the practice for you?
So I do my best to do what Leah has taught me, which is to get down to his level, to just like breathe, to say, hey, I understand you're feeling these things. It's okay to feel things. If you need to cry, cry. To comfort him as best I can. But like when I've reached sort of the end of my rope, so to speak, I definitely can see the patterns of how my parents have reacted, which is to say, you've got nothing to cry about. I don't care. you're not going to be able to get me to do what you want with your emotions. Basically all of this like completely emotionally detached kind of state of being.
Was your childhood abusive in any way? I mean, I guess that can technically be a form of abuse, unsafety, no space for that kind of emotional expression. But was there any kind of physical abuse or any other kind of abuse growing up?
Never.
Okay.
My parents were actually, I often say, they were the best providers I could have asked for.
Just not a lot of room
I
for emotional expression.
Yeah, they provided everything I needed except for the emotional safety.
Got it. And then how is that impacting this relationship with Leah?
It affects everything.
How? Describe. So Leah, are you upset by this and what he's doing, or how are you feeling how he engages with your son?
He definitely does his best, and I'm very proud of him for the way that he's so self-aware of those things, and he's already thought of like what he can do better next time. If he's not able to because he's overwhelmed or burnt out, I give him like, just go outside, like don't worry about cleaning up, don't worry about all that stuff, just go outside. I do feel scared sometimes for Zay, because sometimes when Sean gets really frustrated, or he just has this inner turmoil like with his emotions, he doesn't react in the best way towards Zay, and
what does he do?
it comes out in anger. Pardon?
Yeah, anger. Oh, no, I was gonna say. So, what does he do as far as not working in the best ways? Anger, explosion, reactions.
Yeah, it's just like because he's feeling frustrated, he then wants Zay to feel what he's feeling, and it's just like, well, if you're gonna do this, then I'm gonna do it right back to you, kind of thing. And that's not what he does, but like the way that he talks is like, well, if you're gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with that, you know,
Sure.
because I've noticed the pattern, and it's similar to like when he was, not agreeing with his brother. It was like, well, if you're gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that, and it was like, I can see how many times he's talked about it. It's almost like he's working himself up to doing that. And just because I was around when he was having that conflict with his brother, I'm worried about now, like, how are you able to like be around a 2-year-old who doesn't have that much empathy and like, doesn't care if he slaps you, or like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna react towards those things? But he's doing his best for the most part, but sometimes I do have to be like, don't worry about it, I got it. You can step into the room, because I can tell like Zay's up crying because he sees this big giant guy like not in a good mood towards him.
Yes. With huge biceps. So how is this impacting the relationship? So then do you guys argue about parenting? Because it sounds like you guys are on the same page. It sounds like Sean, you're very aware of what's happening in you internally, and you really do want to change that. It's not like I don't hear you being defensive about this, right?
No, like I can't say I'm happy about hearing the truth about myself, considering how the person I'm working towards becoming. And that's part of it. No growth comes without discomfort. My reactions just to like a lot of the really quick reactions that I've had are when I see that he's about to hit Leah, and my instinct is to reach out and grab him and say, no,
right,
we don't do that. Sometimes where that, like, I shouldn't be doing that in the first place, because we have to learn how to self-regulate. And if I'm teaching him that somebody's always going to be there to stop his bad behavior, like that's not, I don't think that's a good way to do it. What I think, like, for me is to get more confident in my voice and the power that it has. So I can learn how to use the better words to communicate And that's one of the great things about Leah is she's so invested in being the best mom that she can be, that she has all of these resources. She's looked into videos and all these techniques and strategies. And, you know, if I can just lean on her, if I'm brave enough to put my pride to the side and lean on her for the advice and for the guidance, which I'm working towards, I know
So
that
what's getting in the way of that is pride. And so tell me about this pride. Is there something about this where if you don't kind of operate the way that you want to, then it feels lopsided, or it feels like you don't have a say in parenting, or is it, or no?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
very much, you know, my way or the highway.
Yeah, because I think a
That's
lot of
how my
parents
treated me.
well, also, you know, in this situation where it's I mean, like it's a blended, you know, kind of thing, right? Because it's not your son. Zane's not your son, right?
No.
So you coming in and in a lot of situations, that person feels like if they don't contribute in their way, then they're being muted or controlled, or you know, that kind of thing. And I wonder if any of that is happening with you, as far as, you know, the ego piece of it, or no?
Oh, that's exactly it. And
Yeah,
because I also have an unhealthy amount of anxiety, I'll
yeah.
tell myself that I'm being manipulated.
Mm.
Even though a lot of times I actually just offer to do things.
Hmm.
She hasn't really asked me for much. To be honest, it's kind of me volunteering, but
Yeah.
then for some reason being resentful about it afterwards. I don't know.
Yep.
Definitely, there's some part of me that feels I'm owed something, which I totally understand is not the case. I just don't know what to do about that.
If you were owed something, what would that be?
Well, I realize like she does a great job of appreciating me for my efforts. I guess I would just like to see a little bit more of that.
Mm.
I don't know. So one of the things that I always do is, even if we're fighting or there's a disagreement or we're not talking, I always try to say I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that when Leah's not feeling it, she's not going to say it back.
Yeah.
But for me, it was established pretty early on in the relationship. Like Leah said to me, love is not necessarily it's a feeling, it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so because a lot of times I'm not feeling very lovey-dovey, but I say it anyways, just to be like, I still love you. Like, we're all good. And for me, I also realized that needing that verbal affirmation probably speaks to some sort of lack within myself. To need it every single time, I'm learning how to step back and say, okay, this person still loves me, even though they're not saying it. I just have to know it.
Right.
But it does hurt a little bit that I'm willing to put my feelings aside to say, I love you. And it feels like that's not being returned.
Mm-hmm. Leah, what do you wait? So Leah, what are your thoughts? What is your response?
Like, I do agree with that, and I understand where he's coming from, where he's like, he's willing to put aside his feelings and still say I love you, even when we're having an argument and it hasn't been solved. Like, we haven't, like, you know, we're not done with that conversation. A lot of the times those conversations are based off of him not feeling sure about the relationship. If he wants to be with me, if this is for him, like, he feels like he can do a lot of personal growth outside, like, not in a relationship. It would be better for him to get to where he wants to be. He feels like being in the relationship is holding him back. So when we have those conversations, and even though, like, I don't know what to do, like, I don't know how we're going to fix this, or like how this conversation is going to be done, if, like, what you're saying every time we have these talks is that, you know, you don't see how you can have everything you want and still be in this relationship, and that you see life will be better for you single. I don't know how to say I love you after that. Even though he says that, okay, I love you, and I'm like, I don't feel like you mean it, even though you're saying that, because everything else you said before.
it's also you, his ambivalence making you not feel safe. And if people don't feel safe, it's going to be hard to say, I love you, of course. Right. So is that the greatest struggle for you in this, is not knowing if it's going to continue? What's your greatest struggle in this relationship?
My struggle is that I'm here, and it's not only my life, it's my son's life as well.
Yeah.
It's like I can tolerate a lot, but I can't bear the thought of knowing that my decisions affect my son. And here I am in a relationship with someone who's unsure about wanting to be a part of my life and my son's. And I moved in with him, but I'm still like not fully here because he wants the space for himself. So I haven't fully moved in. I just grabbed a few things and I feel like ripped apart because part of my things is somewhere else and some of my things are here, and like I crave stability, and I don't feel like this is stable.
Yeah, Sean,
and I know I want stability for my son.
Yeah,
Pardon?
of course. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sean, what are your thoughts on what she just said, Leah? Did you guys move in too fast because it made sense and it was convenient? Did you guys need to build this and make sure the plane was sturdy before you moved in? It seems like the moving in kind of was very convenient. Also, Sean, you not having a full-time job, you could watch the kids. You can then get her work on her career. It all kind of made a lot of sense logically. But if your heart isn't in the right place, or if you're unsure about the relationship, moving in can be a pressure cooker. And also, Leah, for you, it could be terrifying because of the pressure of that, you know?
Yeah, it is quite a lot, especially now that we are expecting. So
How far are you?
giving this a 7 weeks. So we just found out. And we were going back and forth of whether we want to keep it or not. So right now I'm just like, I don't know whether to believe the words he says, because we've been going back and forth, you know, whether he wants to be in this, if he doesn't want to be in it for a while. And I just feel like me putting my trust in him and having faith in this relationship is gonna lead me back to another situation where I'm gonna have to start all over again. But it's harder because I'm gonna be doing it by myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sean, how much of your frustration with her son and the pressures that you put on yourself, or all of that struggle, and I also don't want to minimize parenting, man. I mean, mine's almost 4, and I'm 50, so it's exponentially more difficult and activating than I thought, and I'm going through all of this as well. So I don't want to minimize how hard it can be. You're also in your 30s, and you're in transition, and you're building something. So, but anyway, how much of your relationship with her son and the struggles you have that is contributing to your ambivalence to this? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if she didn't have a son, it was just you guys, would you be less ambivalent about the relationship, or is her son and all those struggles contributing to this whole thing, and it's making you feel like, I don't know if this is for me? Is it too much?
My plan was not to jump into. I wasn't planning on jumping into a relationship right away. That's for sure. And especially not jumping into parenting right away.
Yeah.
And one of the struggles for me is seeing how I react to this, and then also realizing that it's not good for them. And then I feel guilty that I'm keeping them in a position that's not good for anybody. Simply because, well, I'm afraid to hurt them. And
so is your ambivalence have more to do with you being afraid that you're going to hurt them, you being afraid that maybe you won't be a good partner, a good father figure, all that kind of stuff, or is your ambivalent strictly that you just don't know if this relationship is right for you? Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's so many moving parts here.
I think it could. Like when you say like I don't know if this is right for me, like that's the thought that I have a lot of the time.
Yeah. So it's overwhelming, all of it happening.
Yeah.
The kid moving in, all of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess
how
like
would you know? How would you know if this was for you? How would you know if this is or if this isn't for you?
I always thought I would just either know or have like a deep feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I always thought that I would just know.
But that's not what's happening, right?
No.
And and because you don't know, I also have been guilty of this, being ambivalent in relationships. A kid wasn't involved, but it's still very confusing for the other person. It's the more you not know, the more Leah will feel unsafe.
Right.
And then when people feel unsafe, and then also, you know, compounded by your ambivalence, there's just going to be a lot of drift, a lot of people on edge. And then you throw a 2-year-old, you know, who's throwing, you know, tantrums and everything that a 2-year-old does. People are going to be very reactive and explosive. And, you know, it's really tough to connect in that. So, let me ask you, Sean, what you need. And then Leah, you tell us what you need.
I need to see that we're actually like both of us putting in as much effort as we can to build a better life together.
Is that not happening? You're not seeing that now?
That this is going somewhere. It seems like things are changing around.
Yeah.
And like we're going in circles, and like I just had this idea today where it's like we're trying to get to the top of a mountain, but we're walking all the way around the mountain ever so slightly, ever so slightly, ever so slightly. And I just want to go straight to the top.
What would straight to the top look like in this situation?
Well, like I can be very stubborn and headstrong, right? So I just look where I want to go and I head straight there, and it doesn't matter if there's a wall in my way, I break it down. If there's a tree in the way, I don't walk around it. I try to walk through the tree. But I also had the realization that if I go straight to the top, most people have to climb back down the mountain. I'm not trying to climb back down. I want to get to the top and stay there. So if I'm going around the entire mountain, then I've scoped out the entire terrain on the way up there. It would take a lot. It's going to take a lot longer, but I'm going to have a much greater understanding of the mountain that I'm standing atop once I get there. Because I do know that, like, dreams and arm wrestling aside, my greatest calling in life, in this life that I'm living, is to be the greatest father that I can be. I think I've been sort of resisting that and just trying to find ways out to avoid the knowledge that every single time I promised myself I wouldn't be like my parents, I'm still like them.
Yeah,
I'm still doing the same things, and it's very painful for me to see that I am passing on that pain to somebody else who doesn't deserve it, who just needs love, just like I need love. And I feel ashamed that I don't know how to love them in the way that I needed, you know, in the way that they need, you know, as a child. And I'm struggling to find that love within myself when I don't really love myself.
Do you think that is why there's such a big wall between you with a genuine intention to be the greatest dad that you can be, and then not doing that? Meaning, you know, first of all, it's a very high, it's a very noble and high goal. It's not easy. So you put this on yourself that you want to be the greatest father that you can be. At the same time, it's very difficult to do. And if you don't like yourself and you fall short and you do raise your voice or you explode or you do something that you're not proud of, then there's a lot of self-bashing. You could get very scared to then even pursue this. You might be like, this, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? So like the internalization of this, right? Like, I want to be the greatest father I can be, but it's not happening. I'm not there yet. And then, so there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. I don't want the 2-year-old to experience what I experience. So it's a lot of heavy stuff. You don't want to, it's a very hot stove you don't want to touch at some point. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like part of this is you got to be a lot easier on yourself. I mean, I was just telling you, I'm 50 with a 4-year-old, and I make mistakes every day, and I get mad at myself for not being present, or forgetting this or forgetting that. And if I just bash myself, I, like you, will believe the stove is too hot to touch, and then I will slowly drift, check out, not be present. I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? Go through the motions. And so maybe, kind of getting to the homework here, no one's saying you're a bad father. Well, you are to yourself, right? It would be very different if Leah, and no one's perfect, but Leah's not saying that, get away from my son, you're horrible. You're just putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be this like super dad. And I think that being a good father is a day at a time, and it's earned, man. So your intention is great. It's noble, and you're learning, and you're taking cues, and you're doing the best you can. It would be a lot better if you were easier on yourself with this whole thing. It's about the long game as well. You know what I'm saying? It's not about this 1 year, Yeah. You're not going to, quote unquote, fuck up the child. You're not going to pass down things from the generations above because you're aware of this. Your parents were not in rooms like this talking about what they want to work on, right? They weren't even aware.
Yeah.
And so just trusting that, and being kinder to yourself, I think, is the work for you. You've said a few times now that you don't like yourself. That's a big journey for you, and that's maybe turning the corner is you starting to like yourself. I wonder how much of your struggle in this relationship has to do with you not liking yourself. I wonder if you would be more certain if you did like yourself. You know what I'm saying? So like your relationship with yourself is what you should work on. And then the relationship will either blossom and you guys will grow and connect together, or you working on yourself will be telling, and the relationship won't. Like, either way, it's truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as you're honest to you, and as long as you are doing things for you. But I do think that for Leah, she's in a situation where she kind of feels powerless, like moving into your house. She's trying to, build her business. The baby's with you. And so, half her stuff is over here, half isn't. So she probably feels very kind of unstable, insecure, vulnerable. And so you saying, I'm not sure about this relationship, is not helping, Listen, the ante to sit at the table of love is possible heartbreak. Like, no relationship has a promise, right? Doesn't matter if people are exchanging vows or whatever. There's no promise to relationships. We are all risking, the possibility of a broken heart, and we all know this. I don't think you should announce it because it scares people. I think you work on your relationship with self, and if you come to the conclusion one day that this isn't for you, okay, that's fair. Then you guys could talk about that. But leaving this, these breadcrumbs, they're almost like it's like a minefield of little bombs that Leah has to walk, and suddenly there's eggshells. Like it can make the energy of this whole relationship very contentious and not calm, not grounded. And of course, son can feel that as well, and maybe the son acting out is because of that. I don't know. So you guys are just starting this whole thing. You guys have, a year and a half is nothing. You guys are still in the honeymoon. And I could tell by the body language, your guys' love and care for each other. As both of you guys have been emotional in the last half an hour, body language is huge. And if people are sitting with their arms crossed, that's so much more telling than what's coming out of their mouth. And both of you guys are being very affectionate to each other. To me, that's really telling. To me, that you guys really seem to really care and love each other. This is the beginning. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's I know it can be overwhelming. You guys are taking on a lot. I think you guys are. Career transition, parenting, possible new kid on the way, and also Sean, if the thing didn't work out with your brother, there's, residue there emotionally. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening. And Sean, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. And so it's messy. I don't see any kind of road directly to the top of the mountain, Sean, in anyone's life. I don't think, you let me know where that road is. It's a multi-layered, windy, messy, one day at a time type of thing. I mean, especially for parents, right? So to take a breath and to love each other one day at a time and do the best you can. Like, that's all you can do. I think you guys should communicate.
I know that I can do that.
Well, let's do this before we leave, because we got to get going. So then, Sean, what's one thing you can take ownership for, as far as one thing that you're willing to work on moving forward, so Leah feels a little more safe?
Being kinder with myself, always taking a breath and thinking about what I'm about to say before I say it, and the possible ramifications and how it's going to make the other person feel, instead of just focusing on how I feel and wanting to make sure that they know how I feel. So being more empathetic towards the people that I care about and myself. So empathy. I can work on my empathy.
All of that's great. Can you also try to give Leah a body the experience of calm, of safety, of groundedness? So not like her mind logically, because you can say I love you, but if her body doesn't feel it, it doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? And also, speaking of the I love you piece, I wonder if you wanting that back from her, especially if you're ambivalent in this. Uh-oh, did I freeze?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, am I back?
I heard you say, wondering if you want...
Oh, when you say I love you and wanting the I love you, I wonder how much of that is you needing something from her, expecting something from her that you should give yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's why. I'm more saying it to try to see if she'll still say to me to reassure myself. I think that's why you can pick up that it's not authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so if you know that, Sean, part of your work is to self-soothe and to know, wait a minute, I'm getting angry or hurt because she's not saying I love you. Where's that coming from? Okay, it's me wanting something that I can give myself. I got to stop asking that from her. And that's tied to, the emotional neglect in childhood and whatnot. So all of that is on your plate. Now, Leah, what are some things you can do? What's going to be your homework?
I'm not too sure, actually.
Well, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm trying to think. Something
let me ask you this. Do you, in your position, do you express yourself and needs in this relationship, or is that hard for you?
It is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard for me. Just because I always had to look out for myself. And I learned to be independent at a young age. Like I had to. So I don't know how to express my needs, because I feel like if I do ask for something from someone, then they're going to use it against me.
Yeah, or also, maybe you may feel like you don't deserve it, or that you don't want to add more tension, or whatever.
Yeah, like I don't want to ask for too much.
Yeah. So how is not expressing your needs, how is not asking for too much impacting this relationship? How do you think? Either of you could answer.
There's like hidden anger because my needs are met and I'm unable to do it myself. So there's a hidden anger that I'm dealing with myself, not really. So
I want to play something out. So if there's hidden anger with yourself, how does that ripple into the relationship?
Not able to hold that space for him when he needs to come to me with something he needs. Then I already feel like my cup is already full, and I'm not able to be there for him. Yeah.
So that pushes people away. You being mad at yourself. This is your version of kind of like, Sean working on liking himself. Maybe for you, you expressing yourself and your needs is going to connect you closer to you. It's self-validating, you know. It's going to give you the experience, the proof that you matter and that you are worthy.
Yeah.
So can that be your homework? It will be heavy lifting if it's not something you're used to doing.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. And then make each other accountable.
But if you don't believe it.
No, I know. It's just in the moment. It's if I already see that you are already overwhelmed, I don't want to ask. You know? Yeah.
That's fair. She's very caring. She cares
yes, and also to actually express that then. So instead of asking for the need, to say, hey, Sean, I see you're really overwhelmed and, you know, there's an inner struggle happening. So this idea of sharing your inner journey with your partner, you're not dumping on your partner. You decide what you want to share. But both of you guys are very aware of what each needs to work on. So expressing where you're at in that and what's hard for you, that will make you guys feel closer to each other, you know?
Yeah.
So whether Sean is saying, hey, listen, I'm having a hard time with myself today. I don't like myself today, whatever. Or Leah saying, yeah, I have some needs that I want to express, but it's tough for me. That's vulnerability. That's foundational. That's still you expressing yourself, even though you didn't express the need. The fact that you're expressing that it's hard for you to express the need is still a self-expression and still great. You know, it's still prescribed. So let's work on those things. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that you guys are going through. I don't want you guys to forget how much is on your plate. So you guys are doing good, you know. You guys are doing the best you can. I mean,
that's always good enough.
Yeah. So I say every day.
Yep. I've been saying that more and more, and it does help. You know,
good.
I am doing the best I can.
Yeah.
I can always feel good about that.
Yeah. Well, I want to before we go, I want to thank you guys for sharing your story, for being honest, for allowing so many other people in your kind of similar situation to feel less alone. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, and thank you. This has really helped me.
Yeah.
And it also helps to have a direct goal in mind and something specific to work on.
Yeah.
That's the way my brain works. I need specificity.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was really good. I feel a huge weight lifting off of me.
I hope as you guys go on your journeys, because at the end of the day, we're talking about your relationship with self, that you guys grow together, and that makes you guys closer. And it's going to be such a beautiful thing, you know. And so instead of looking at the other person, looking inward, and if both of you guys are doing that, you kind of have two pistons of an engine pumping to move the car forward. And then all of that is going to ripple into happier people, better parenting, happier child, less anxiety, you know, all of that stuff. So can you email me in a couple of weeks? Just let me know how you guys are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Love to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll chat again. Be well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
She's in her 20s. He's in his early 30s. She has a 2-year-old. They've known each other for 1.5 years. Now they're living together. Of course, activation. Raising a kid is going to bring up so much. Now they possibly have another kid on the way. He doesn't know what to do with his life. She's trying to build her life. And, you know, if you listen to their story, it's so common, you know, because a part of me feels like, oh, there's just so much there. And I, you know, in a way I've been there. I didn't have a child when I was in my 20s, but I used to be fucking miserable. I used to be reactive. I had no direction. I was climbing that mountain that he was talking about with zero patience, trying to run up that hill. I've struggled in relationships and have been ambivalent and been unaware of the kind of how my energy and mood and, you know, reactivity affects other people. I mean, and in a way, I think all of that is for when we are in our 20s and 30s, kind of normal, you know. It's it's actually growth soil. It's the stuff that we are finally seeing, because both of these people are obviously in this room because they're aware of this. And I think we underestimate how valuable that is, right? That we are seeing the patterns, the reactivity, the things that, our state, how it's affecting each other, children. And we may not have answers, but just realizing that it's there and we want different. I mean, that's huge, right? That in itself can stop the generational transmission process, can break the pattern, can stop with you. I feel that so many couples want specific answers, or they want some kind of a solution. And sometimes it's just about acknowledging what's happening, how hard it is, and that they are doing the best they can. And I feel like this is a great example of that. Anyway, thank you for listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I hope these sessions are helpful for you, and I hope that you can relate to them and it impacts you in some way, whether it causes revelations or maybe by you watching this, it makes you realize, oh, how easy you have it, right? Or that you're not in this situation. You might have an appreciation for your current relationship, which you haven't had in a while. I don't know. Thank you for listening. Be well.